This meeting is now called to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cloninger?
Here.
Mrs. Cons?
Here.
Mr. Lavalley?
Here.
Mr. Salt?
Here.
Mr. Temby?
Here.
The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mr. Aaron Salt.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Mattson-Bonet, are there any updates to the agenda?
There were updates to the agenda and the board was notified of these.
Members of the board, are there any items you wish to move from the consent agenda? Are there any items to be added to the agenda? May we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cloninger?
Aye.
Mrs. Cons?
Aye.
Mr. Lavalley?
Aye.
Mr. Salt?
Aye.
Mr. Temby?
Board quote is tonight a board highlight. Mr. Salt.
Thank you. So tonight we have a couple of parents from Foothills Elementary School. We have Kevin and Jessica Taverdi. I think I said that right. Perfect. Words without vowels throw me off sometimes. But we are very excited to have them here. I reached out to the principal, Gina, and said, hey, who do you have that you think has just been an exceptional, community member there, student, teacher, parent? She said, let me tell you about Kevin and Jessica. I said, let's hear it. So they're both professors at UCCS. They are avid supporters of Foothills Elementary School, and they're parents of a second grader there. Both of them volunteer in the classroom, and both of them volunteer through Cause I Love You, spending hours at Foothills property cleaning, mowing, shoveling, and improving the grounds just in general. Kevin has hosted a class for students and parents on food science on their STEAM nights. He invited his chemistry students from UCCS to come into the classroom to help students with their science projects. Jessica has stepped up to the plate when substitute shortages during COVID. She applied and received her substitute license so she can help at the school. She volunteers with a cross-country coach. She hosts staff kids for PLC mornings in their home because they live just right down the road from Foothills. So that's a great opportunity to really serve and love on their teacher community. They have adopted several families during the holidays with the Giving Tree, and they're an active member of the PTO. So thank you both so much for being here. Please stand up so we can thank you. So again, thank you both for being here. Thank you both so much for the service that you have at Foothills and what you do for that community. Clearly, you guys are loved by them, so with such a cheering section over here. So thank you all.
Thank you both, and thank you, Mr. Salt. That was awesome. Ms. Cortez, how many people do we have signed up to speak this evening?
This evening, we have 6 individuals signed up to speak.
The board welcomes public comments. In the interest of respecting the time of all who are present, speakers must have signed up to address the board prior to 4 p.m., and they must limit their remarks to 2 minutes or less. We also ask speakers to address the board and not others in the room. Not others in the room. All speakers will be notified of the remaining time via the mounted. Can you all hear me? I feel like I'm coming in and out. Okay. All speakers will be notified of the remaining time via the mounted monitors behind the dais. When the time is ended, the microphone will turn off. Supplemental written materials can be given to the security guards who are seated in the hallway outside the boardroom, and they will be delivered to the board secretary. Profanity or any disrespectful behavior will not be tolerated. We greatly value all comments from the public. However, the board will not respond this evening. And if you would, just state your name and a relationship to the district. We're trying to say that at the beginning. So without further ado, Ms. Cortez.
Our first speaker this evening is Laura Matisik.
You want me to put name and? I'm a resident of the district and I am a parent of the district. Is this on? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Good evening. I applaud the board for not making the proposed policy change regarding public comments and not banning the final book under review. Our teachers, librarians, and principals have been under attack since you, Mr. Lavalley, our board president, suggested to your like-minded theocratic friends at the Church for All Nations that they should storm into our schools to find objectionable materials in our libraries. I hope you realize what an utter waste of time, resources, and money these book challenges have cost our district. I am glad that the book is here to stay, but was it worth it? Was it worth villainizing the professionals in our schools that work tirelessly to ensure that our children have a plethora of knowledge and diverse set of books to receive an excellent public education? I want to reiterate that any parent in this district has always had parental choice. If you find a book that you do not want your child to read, all you must do is flag it with your school librarian and your child may not check it out. I personally will never do this, but to each their own. You have that right, ability, and choice, and it has never been under attack by our school administrators. It would be unfair for you to remove a book because a small group of parents you happen to agree with want it removed. My child should have access to all materials on all sides of any issue. I want her to know the facts and truths, and then she can decide how she feels about it. I want my 5th grade child to read any book in her school because I know our librarians have done their due diligence and are educated on what materials belong in our schools. I trust them and her teachers, which is why I choose to send my daughter to our D20 public schools. Mr. Lavelle, you also stated at our last meeting that you wanted to see more conservative books in our school libraries. I would like for you to give us a few titles that you assume are not already there. You realize that Colorado Springs has been ranked as a top 4th major conservative city in the US, right? There is no shortage of conservatism here, hence look at the board majority. Transparency is important, and so is being nonpartisan in your official capacity. Please do better and be better. And I do want to say to all of you, I appreciated your professionalism and attentiveness outside at the school board, school fair, science fair spotlight. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Brett Dayberry.
My name is Brett Dayberry. I'm a grandparent. I believe in Jesus Christ as my Savior. I'm a patriotic American. Some might call me a Christian nationalist.
Could you just move it closer? We can't hear you. Thank you.
Can I start the time over?
Yeah, can you just start over? Is the mic on?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just try to get closer to it. I don't think it'd be good.
As I said, my name is Brett Dayberry. I'm a grandparent. I believe in Jesus Christ as my Savior, and I'm a patriotic American. Some might call me a Christian nationalist. At the February 2nd Board of Education meeting, a brave student from Liberty High School gathered the courage to speak. She expressed her discomfort and concerns about the safety and privacy of herself and fellow female students in light of the district's adoption of the state transgender policy. She stated, quote, "A boy can walk in on me changing, and yet he is the one that's protected, not me." What was her reward for speaking out? She received shameless remarks from Ms. Cloninger and was publicly derided from this podium by a parent at the last school board meeting. She had the courage to speak out on behalf of many girls who feel similarly threatened. Yet your reaction, Ms. Cloninger, was cold and dismissive. You glared as she spoke, and then, like you're doing now, and then during your time for delivering remarks, your immediate inclination wasn't to voice your understanding of this girl's fear and concerns, but instead you did what you always do. Jump into your immediate support for LGBTQ students with disregard for any others. You and I met previously regarding this specific issue, and while we agreed to disagree on most points, I left believing you had the best interest of all students in mind. I no longer believe that. You're more concerned about defending your bias towards the LGBT community than validating the vast majority of female students in D20. You exclusively wear LGBTQ themed articles of clothing, jewelry, buttons, and speak out only when you perceive this section of the student population is challenged. Not once have I or anybody else heard you offer a word of support for the majority. It is my expectation that any student willing to speak out at a board meeting, regardless of the topic.
Sorry, your time's up.
Our next speaker is Jim Robertson.
Good evening, Board. Superintendent Gregory. My comments tonight are in regard to our community stakeholder superintendent survey, which we now know have been significantly compromised. An elected officer of the El Paso County Democrat Party posted a video to his approximately 15,000 social media followers on TikTok, specifically asking people to fraudulently participate, thus blowing up the survey process and substantially altering the results. The following are excerpts taken from that TikTok video. Quote, "So anyone want to help me counter a Christian nationalist church and Moms for Liberty at the same time?" I noticed two interesting things over the past weekend. One is a local Christian nationalist church, Church for All Nations, sent out to call to action to their members to answer the survey. And then it was brought to my attention that a local Moms for Liberty chapter also sent out a call to action to their members to respond to the survey. Pause here to look at it more closely, but it's the same language. So that's another piece of evidence that Moms for Liberty are collaborating with Seven Mountain Dominionists, but I digress. The deadline to complete the survey is today, January 30th, and I'm preparing more formal direct action, but we can't have the survey filled up with anti-public education garbage by a bunch of people that don't even go here. This is where we need your help. I put a link to the survey on my link tree. It's 3 pages, but it's relatively short. On the first page, you can answer however you want. On the second page, just answer no opinion right down the middle. Third page is the important one. In the 3 fields provided for the most significant challenges the next superintendent will face, I want you all to answer Church for All Nations, Moms for Liberty, and Lightning. And just trust me on that last one, end quote. This TikTok video garnered over 2,500 responses. Tonight, we're going to hear some of them. Thank you.
The next speaker is Megan Dawkins.
Hi, I'm Megan Dawkins. I live in District 20. I also have kids that go to school in District 20. This is but a small sampling of over 2,500 responses posted on this TikTok string last week of the video the last speaker referred to. These are direct, unaltered, and verbatim quotes. I got time today, off to enlist the help of some IT friends for mass submissions. They don't realize that I have 35 children in the school. I had to make sure I submitted one for each. Done in less than a minute. I live in the Springs, but not in the district. Done from Georgia. Who was able to set this up on a bot to keep answering multiple times? Let's flood their system. Done in Littleton. Done in Florida. Done from Ohio. Done from Connecticut. Even though I'm in another state, can I do this? The TikToker replied, the deadline was yesterday, but you could have, yes. There was no protections or verifications on the survey system. Done, I live in Texas. Doing it now from Michigan. It's still open today, and if you open the survey in a new window, you can take it over and over. Good for you. We are going to overcome these evil moms and insane Christians. I'm in Denver. Done. Done from Maryland. Done as someone in Arkansas going through this BS right now in our city. I varied up my responses, so if they auto-remove any filled out the same way, mine might make the cut. If you want to answer to have extra weight, indicate on page 1 that you're a parent. I took this 5 times. Done from Los Angeles. Done from Montana. Use multiple Google accounts. Completed with pleasure. It is my sincere hope that this makes their polling useless. Everyone makes some typos, so they can't find all and delete easily. Done and shared to Colorado Satanists. Done on all 7 of my devices. Good deal bringing my church in and some military IT pros. Done, I filled out like 6 of them. Done, I'm in Colorado, so technically I could school of choice my kid into this district, but heck no, I will not. I was able to submit twice by using incognito windows. I will try using phone and other computers to overcome.
The next speaker is Derek Wilburn.
I'm a District 20 parent. My name is Derek Wilburn. You may feel free to refer to me as Lightning. Regarding the superintendent survey, at the last board meeting, a speaker said, quote, I was skeptical due to there being a lack of strong safeguards put in place to deter outside special interest groups. And that, quote, the survey results demonstrate that of the 17 traits Distracting agendas, parental rights, and academic excellence above all fall to the bottom of the scoreboard, end quote. We now know that is not true. That is not what the community said. That's what solicited responses from all over the world said. Moms for Liberty local chapter is just that, a local chapter here in our community. Church for All Nations is here in our community, just a few miles from where we're sitting right now. This was a blatant, overt, and successful sabotaging of the survey process. And at this point, board, I have no choice but to ask you to simply disregard all the surveys that have been submitted, 100% of them, throw them all out. The system has been so corrupted by this overt cheating. And at the end of the 2,500 responses, the TikToker posted, "I've gotten way too much joy watching this process. Thank you to all of you so much for the help. It's a shame that one entirely corrupt individual with no moral compass at all would throw out all the work that you and everybody else in District 20 administration did, putting this survey together and administering it, let alone disregard for all the legitimate stakeholders who really did invest time to have their voices heard in this search for a new superintendent. But you now have to trash the whole thing because of one cheating individual. For anyone in the room that would like to see the documentation that's been presented to the board tonight, I have it right here. Just come see me during the break. I'll be more than happy to put it in your hand. Thank you, board.
Our final speaker this evening is Catherine Chukas.
My name is Catherine Chukas. I live in the district. I'm an Air Academy parent. I'm going to say the name of my school. I was out of town for a while, so my animal update is about my neighbor's new fence. It's designed to keep their dog in or the deer out, but I'm not sure how effective it's going to be in either. Fences are really rare in our part of the district. My comments tonight were going to be about the questions you should consider during the agenda about the mid-year assessment. Given my training as a mathematician and a statistician, I care about math literacy deeply. Given my role at a local college, I know a lot about SAT scores. However, I think that can wait for another day. I know the board is busy deliberating about superintendent candidates. I have had the opportunity to give input into the themes Dr. Cooper shared with you, as I've been fortunate enough to have the time to do so and to be part of groups like Parent Sounding Board. And you also heard last time at the meeting that Dr. Cooper filtered out the odd responses from statistical analysis. I do this all the time on surveys I do for the world's largest companies. Dr. Cooper did it as well. So there's no odd responses in the survey. I want to say that as a statistician. I've also given you plenty of public comment from this podium here in October, November, and December about finding a leader with experience with a district with an excellent reputation that is as large and as diverse as ours. There are so few districts out there with 26,000 students and so few with the growth potential that we're going to have. We have areas in the Black Forest and East of Powers that are going to get further developed. I don't think we can ignore this. There's going to be more houses built. And as long as the reputation of D20 public schools doesn't decline relative to neighboring districts, it's going to mean more students and more staff, even if the projections say no more buildings. Again, I just heard the numbers about Encompass Heights. It's grown a lot. I thought it was interesting that Dr. Cooper shared last week about site-based decision-making and how the staff commented on this being an issue or a challenge for the new superintendent. I think this is something you should consider as you interview candidates. Does the candidate have the perspective on the merits of site-based decision-making for a district our size and or the experience with change management moving away from a site-based decision-making to an alternative model? Please
That concludes our speakers for this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Cortez. Board comments, Ms. Cons.
Thank you. Just briefly, as many of you know, it's Dr. Seuss week, his birthday today. And I looked down as I was cooking this morning and I had chopped up ham and spinach in my eggs and I had to take a picture and send it to my husband because he was hosting a Dr. Seuss read event at work too. So I was thrilled that I was making green eggs and ham without even realizing it. But yesterday I got to head over to Mountain View Elementary and read to their third graders. And let's see if my picture, there we go. So we took a little selfie and I was excited that Mrs. Jenkins had all these Dr. Seuss hats for us. So they got to dress up. You can see some Cindy Lou Who's. You can see the fox Fox and Socks right there. So I'm sure they've been having a fun week, as their admin can tell you that are here. But just a joy, as all of you know, that get to spend time in elementary schools. It was awesome to have the third graders giggling at Dr. Seuss. I didn't know if they'd be a little old for that, and it was super fun to have them engaged and get to spend time with them. So that's my only picture, because the other pictures I took were illegal. But Mrs. Cloninger and I got to sit in on the 4A speech and debate state tournament at DCC last weekend. And we were in the Congress competition. So similar to what we experience here on a smaller scale. And as you can imagine, intelligent, phenomenal, brilliant people, D20 kiddos in that room, teens in that room, won first place, second place, fourth place, and sixth place. So super proud of them and all of the other dozens of D20 students in the other competitions that placed. So proud of those guys. But I got told to stop taking pictures, so that's why I can't show you. I just want to say congrats, Mr. Gregory. We'll mention more, but congrats to all of our D20 DECA finalists that went to state, and many of them that are moving on to international. So thrilled for those guys, and just super proud of all the teachers and volunteers and judges and everyone in between that supports our hundreds of D20 students in DECA, the marketing program. And lastly, just thanks to Antelope Trails and Encompass Heights kids and families for coming and showing their brilliance and personalities at our spotlight tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Mr. Temby.
Thank you, Mr. LaValle. I've got mostly just some slides today. So this, I forgot to put them in order. So this is the job fair that we had this past Saturday at Liberty High School. And you'll see a media star at the very bottom there. That's Mr. Cameron Smart, surrounded by paparazzi. But every school was represented at the highest level of the school. Everybody was completely vested in this event. Mr. Smart tells me we had 402 people attend this job fair. Comparatively speaking, a district might have 49 in it somewhere, had 150 at their job fair on the same day. So just to let you know, we are still a very attractive district in which to work. Next slide. Okay, so Encompass Heights had their STEM fair, and Mrs. Cloninger and I were judges. This is one of my schools this year. And there are 186 or 187 projects at this STEM fair, and some unbelievable work done by these kids. And we saw some of the winning entrants tonight at Spotlight. We had 6 of the people who'd won, but just some great things. I'm not sure how many parents got involved in a couple of these, but the kids were tremendous. They were eloquent, talking about their projects and their hypotheses and all. It was a lot of fun. So next. And that is just some pictures. So this is Paige Krause. And Paige is the STEM teacher there. She's been teaching for 41 years. And she moved into Encompass because they are a STEM magnet school, I guess we would call it. And she had 26 judges there, engineers, people with teaching backgrounds. It was really a diverse group. But some of these projects, there's like a prosthetic type hand in the bottom right or bottom left. That is a automatic pasta mixer. There is a solar energy watering system. And it was just a lot of fun. And so we got to judge about 13 projects apiece. And the time flew by for the 26 judges doing it, but a lot of fun. It just reinforces what a phenomenal school district we have. So I'm not sure if I can advance it. Well, can you advance the next one? We're not short of fun around here. So we had a school start time issue come up. I'm not sure if anybody heard about it. You know, we pumped the brakes on this a little bit just because we're getting feedback about just the communication process and all that around this. And while we did have committee and it was well thought through, we did decide to pump the brakes. And so I attended the first school start time town hall forum, and Dr. Smith, Dr. Field, and Mr. Smith did a great job of engaging the audience, listening to their questions respectfully, and there are others scheduled. So if you are interested in learning more, that schedule is posted on the website. Whoops, I went the wrong way. I'm not sure. I think the game is tonight. Ended. Okay. All right. Well, then I'm not going to steal this, but I did go to the first playoff game of a very strong 5A team, which is the Air Academy high school boys team. I ran into a couple of local celebrities, Colonel Sullivan there, Dan Olson, or Dan Swolson, as he's known, the principal. And it was a lot of fun. I left in the third quarter when it was 57-13, Air Academy. And I think they squeaked it out by like 40 points. So, but it was a lot of fun. And this was a very snowy night, so the crowd would normally be a little bit more robust, but it was a pretty snowy evening that night. And then today, I had the great pleasure of joining some of the senior cabinet members, our superintendent, Ms. Cloninger, at Douglas Valley Elementary School for their reading day, and just had a blast. It was just a highlight, and if you ever want to make your day, go in and read to kids in an elementary school and just have them totally embrace you. It was great. So, but again, it just reinforces to me what a great school district we have. And that's it, Mr. LaValle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Temby. Ms. Cloninger.
Well, obviously I was with Will a couple of times this past couple of weeks. There we go. I have done quite a few things this week. And I will say, or in the last couple of weeks, I'll say one of the things that I was wanting to highlight were some of the incredible PTAs and PTOs that we have. This woman in the pink in the top, through breast cancer and through having a child suddenly appear in her life 8 or 10 years after her last child. So now she's doing elementary all over again. I blame her and love her for getting me involved in all of this at High Plains. Is where I started all of my volunteer work. And so this was Donuts with Dudes, and all form of dudes were welcome. It was very fun and well attended. It's a smaller school, one of our title schools, but I think all of the parents were really supportive, and it was also on one of those snowy days. In fact, had to be canceled for due to one of the late starts. I mean, pushed back, sorry, not canceled. Here's my version of the STEM fair. I thought it was fantastic. Little Maddie Matisik, who was here earlier, was building a Go Green house, a grow kit. And I had just recently gone to one that was at the high school level at DCC. And I said to her, you know, what would be the next thing if you were going to be, you know, improving like as you get older and things? She said probably, or I said the people that were in high school had a recipe book. And she said, oh, I already have one of those. And she whipped open her booklet and she had a recipe at the back. So I thought, yeah, she's covered. She can go straight to high school. Maybe her mom doesn't want her to do that. Then I also got to hang out with Dr. Smith quite a bit, and we were at the Pine Creek girls swim team who took state championship for the 4A state champions. It was really exciting, and the girls who were there all got to, they'll go up on the wall, their names will be up there, and also and I apologize for the girl, I didn't write down her name, but she won for state in wrestling. Maybe, was she first? I think she was, Victoria Kennard, thank you. But what place was she, do you know? Oh yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So anyway, the wrestling team is a combination team. Anyway, it was just a fantastic opportunity to celebrate. I think sometimes we get one-sided about who gets celebrated, whether it's the football team or the whatever. And so I love seeing just the opportunity that everybody gets to be celebrated. I also went to state finals for forensics or speech and debate. I went to both the high school version, so there's some mixed pictures in here. The top two are kind of the teams from DCC, and then the middle school at they're represented from a lot of different middle schools in the picture right across from it, and that was at Timberview. We all will be working for this little guy in the black cap in the middle at some point, as well as Cal on the other side. And then I got a not illegal picture with Miss Cons and her daughter Grace. She hadn't been to that before, so she didn't know you can't take it during the competitions. I also went to the job fair. Mr. Temby went over that really well, and it was just fantastic to see all of these fun faces. And man, it was just, like he said, very well represented. I went with not with, but was there with many of the people, like Mrs. Matson Bonet's daughter is up there in the top with the pink necklace in one of the top choirs at Pine Creek. They were doing their spring choir, and they were also bringing in the feeder schools. So the middle school kids came, and I just wanted to point out the two sweeties down in the bottom. They're on either side of that girl wearing black, and they are part of the SSN students in Chinook Trail Middle School, and they came and were a delight to that program. I thought it was wonderful. It's sad for Mrs. Bonet and Mrs. Matson Bonet and I to be seeing some of these lasts for our seniors. And then today we were at the Reed. Oh, I was going to do this. This is what I did today to involve the kids interested, and I have a Reed necklace on that was all for Dr. Seuss. And so we were reading some of the cabinet members and Mr. Temby and I have to just point out this fabulous teacher down on the bottom left, right, whatever you are. It's Miss Trunchbull, if you know the really great Matilda book by Roald Dahl. I walked in and immediately knew who she was, and she even posed for the camera, so she looked a little bit more realistic, but it was fantastic. I think I have just one more, and I'm sorry, anyway, this is just some more of the same. Oh, maybe it didn't go forward. Did it? Nope. Oh, nope, there it is. There's my little kiddos. We had a lot of fun with all of the kiddos. I read to a first grade class, Miss Trunchbull's class, and or Miss Larson, and Miss Bailey's fourth grade class. I actually think I switched classes accidentally with Mrs. Allen, and her class had a little thrower-upper. So I think that it was a little bit of a divine intervention that I didn't go to that class, but I really appreciate the time that we got to be there. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Cloninger. Mr. Salt.
Thank you. I was supposed to go to both the debate and the job fair, but I got ill on Friday night and missed everything. So was not fun. So I'm glad you guys had fun without me. But we've been really busy with the superintendent search over the past couple weeks. We met I know Mr. LaValle is going to give an update on this, but we met yesterday for a while. had lots of fun time together. But it's been a lot of fun working through this process with my colleagues up here. Everyone has really taken a really strong approach to this and really looking at what's going to be best for our students, for our parents, for our teachers, and for this community as a whole. And so I've been really proud and really excited to be able to work with this group of board members through this process. I do appreciate all of the community feedback that we've had through this process. It's been really nice having that available and the way that our community interacted with Dr. Cooper and using him as a conduit for us. So I just wanted to thank both my colleagues and you as the community for all of your participation through this process. And then as far as our spotlights tonight, were just phenomenal. We had kindergartners driving robots and with their STEM work, which was just incredible. And then we had all the science projects. We had kind of an encore to the Encompass Heights Science Fair. And we had six wonderful students that just blew my mind with the projects that they were doing. One of the biggest takeaways for me was don't smoke. It's really bad for oranges. So we'll go with that. Thank you, Mr. LaValle.
Thank you, Mr. Salt. Colonel Sullivan.
Well, I usually don't have too much to say because there's not much from USAFA that's relevant to this audience, but I'm going to claim Air Academy since it's on the ground, so I apologize if I steal your thunder, Mr. Gregory. But the girls team kicked off the grade 8 at 8:45 this morning and came up 4 points short and lost, but great season, and it was fun watching them play. The boys followed immediately after, and they're down 2 at halftime, but they pulled it out over Pueblo South. So they'll go on to the Final Four start next Thursday. So congratulations to both teams, and I apologize again if I stole your thunder.
Thank you, Colonel Sullivan. I have just a few things. I don't know that it was well deserved, but it was well enjoyed break. I was out of town for about 16 days, so I didn't do much visiting. But just I got a few announcements. The board will be attending the NSBA conference the weekend of 31 March to 2 April, just sort of an FYI. Thank you. That is a great segue. National School Board Association. Last year we went, and I think we commented they were a little kind of on probation, if you will, and it was a good time. I think all of us felt like it was valuable. We're going back this year, and I feel good about going back this year. By the way, I want to thank Mr. Temby. Did a great job leading the meeting last time, even though I was in it. It wouldn't have worked for me leading remotely. So thank you, Mr. Temby. You did great work. Superintendent update. As Mr. Salt said, we had a fairly long executive session yesterday. We are going to have a final executive session tomorrow morning to check in with our search consultant, and we will expect to name our finalists after exiting executive session. Information about our finalists will be posted on the website as soon as possible after we vote tomorrow. We will come out of executive session and vote, and then they will be publicly available on the website. Don't know exactly what time that is, but we suspect late morning. There will be an online form available after the public presentation. Actually, I should back up just a little bit. So on Wednesday the 15th, there will be a presentation of candidates. It's not a forum, it's not a two-way street, but that is at Liberty High School. And I'm going from memory. I want to say, what's the time? Is it 6 p.m.? And those candidates will do the exact same thing the next afternoon. Actually, I believe we start at 5 p.m. that Thursday at that board meeting, which is the next board meeting that we have. So you'll be able to hear them. It will be the same. They will do the same presentation. So I'm not discouraging everybody from coming, but the idea was if we only did it here, how are we going to get everybody in here? And we said, we'll do the exact same thing at Liberty. So you all have an opportunity. If we fill up the gym at Liberty, then we fill up the gym. So you don't really have to come here at the board meeting to hear them speak. And it will also be live streamed like it always is here. So I just say that, I just want to make sure that we don't get 300 people showing up at the board meeting because that's just not going to work. There will be no public comments at the next meeting because of this. I have mentioned this several times, so just be forewarned, this is the first time that I recall that we've ever not had public comments. We're only doing it simply because of the superintendent search. So I want everybody to be clear on that. So there will be an online form. This is back to here after the public presentation from the finalists on Wednesday. So that evening, March 15th, there will be a public a form for public comment on our website, and it will be available through Friday morning. Okay, if you want to provide input. and that is for public feedback. And what we will be doing is on Friday. So Wednesday is the candidate, it's not forum, what's the word? Candidate presentations. Thursday's the board meeting where they have the same presentations. Friday, we go into executive session and do interviews. And the expectation is we will determine our next superintendent on that Friday. If not, then perhaps Saturday or whenever. That's a to be determined. And then we will have a meeting on the 23rd, very short meeting. I believe it's 5 p.m. simply to announce the new superintendent. So that's the order of events. I hope that's clear to everyone. All right. Just a couple of things. I think I covered it all. Yeah, the meeting, the board meeting begins at 5 p.m. and it will be live streamed and recorded. So if you're not available, it will be recorded just like all of ours. Okay, that's all I have. Mr. Gregory, administrative comments.
Yes, thank you. It's that time of year again. And if you wondered why there was more people than usual in the boardroom this evening, we have some introductions to make. So I will ask Mr. Smart to come to the podium.
Yeah, act like I've been here before. There we go. Thank you for that. Okay. We have a couple individuals that we're going to introduce to you tonight to recommend for administrative positions. And as always, they've met all the requirements required for these positions and have passed through our rigorous interview process and navigated that. And so I'm going to start with our first individual. So I'm pleased tonight to introduce Corinne Gorsh. You may recognize that last name. Who is being recommended as the Mountain View Elementary School principal. Corinne is joined this evening by her husband, Nathan Gorsh, who's the principal at Village High School, her son, Jaron, and her daughter, Emery. Corinne holds a bachelor's degree in Christian education from Lincoln Christian College. She also holds a bachelor's degree in education K-8 from Illinois State University and a master's degree in educational leadership from Western Governors University. She began her career in Whitefield District 3 as a 4th grade teacher at King Elementary School. She also served as grant coordinator and Title I reading and math teacher. You're going to see that theme kind of throughout her career. She later served as the RTI TOSA for D3. She then taught K-5 online at Colorado Virtual Academy. And then she began her career in Academy District 20 at Frontier Elementary School as a Title I coordinator and a math and literacy interventionist. Then after that, she served as the Title I coordinator, community liaison, reading interventionist at Pioneer Elementary School. And then Corinne worked at Mountain View Elementary School as the MTSS coordinator for a couple years. That was just one job at that time, right? So, and then she served as the assistant principal at Bear Creek Elementary School just up the road at D38. And then she returned home to D20 and began serving as assistant principal at Mountain View Elementary School, which she has done for the past about 2 years. So I am pleased, and we are pleased, to present Corinne tonight for the position of principal at Mountain View Elementary School. Anything you want to say, Corinne?
I simply want to say thank you. Mountain View is an amazing community of children, parents, and staff. And it's my honor to continue to lead that community. And I just wanted to thank the Mountain View Hiring Committee. I wanted to thank Mr. Gregory, Mr. Smart, Mrs. Lang, Mrs. Hooper, and the board for this opportunity. And most importantly, to just the community for trusting me with their leadership. Thank you.
Our next person is Julie Murray, who's being recommended as for the principal position at Frontier Elementary School. Julie is joined this evening by her husband Josh, her daughter Laura, her son Owen, and her mom Dawn. I love when the moms go. Also, she is with her sad principal, Kristen Driver, who's a little upset about this, but I think she'll get over it. Okay. Julie holds a bachelor's degree in English and a master's degree in curriculum and instruction from the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. She also holds a doctorate degree in educational leadership from the University of Houston Clear Lake. Julie began her educational career again in Lewis Palmer District 38 as a first grade teacher at Lewis Palmer Elementary School. She then moved to Katy, Texas, and taught kindergarten and first grade, and later served as assistant principal at Diane Winborn Elementary School. And then again, she moved back to Colorado Springs, and she served as assistant principal at Explorer Elementary since then. And so we are pleased again to present Julie tonight for the position of principal at Frontier Elementary School. Julie, you want to say anything? Of course.
Yeah. Thank you. I first want to thank Mr. Gregory, the board, Mr. Swart, Ms. Ruskin for allowing me this opportunity to continue to serve District 20 as the principal at Frontier Elementary. Couldn't be more excited. I want to thank the Frontier community too. They're well represented over here. Thank you for coming tonight, and I'm so excited to get to work with you and continue to make that positive impact in the lives of other students. I want to thank Kristen Driver for your mentorship and your leadership and guiding me, and then of course for your friendship that will continue beyond this. To the Explorer community, I have a few members here. Also, just for your support, it was an honor to serve the community, parents and students and staff. It's amazing, amazing family community. And then again, for my family, thank you for your support and my pursuit of serving others in our community. Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smart. I do have a few other announcements, and some of them I apologize. I'll try to go through them quickly if they're repetitive. In February, Grady Verhey, a senior at Discovery Canyon Campus High School, was presented the Courage Award from the North Colorado Springs Rotary Club. After learning that Grady had a genetic condition that required surgery and, as a result, relearning how to walk, Discovery Canyon Campus's school resource officer, Officer Lee, nominated him for this honor of which he won at the end. So we wish the best to Grady as he continues recovery. This past Sunday, Allie Johnson, the business and marketing teacher at Air Academy High School. So I stole one from you. Business and marketing teacher at Air Academy High School is named Colorado's new teacher of the year by the Colorado Business and Marketing Educators Association during the state DECA conference at the Broadmoor. Her nomination was submitted entirely by her students. But that is not the only good news coming from the state DECA conference. Allie's business and marketing class, who manages the Cadet Coffee Cafe, won a gold certification for the second year in a row. This honor recognizes the program as being one of the best school-based enterprises across the country. And additionally, and once again, and this list would be way too long to read from the dais this evening, but once again, District 20 high school students were recognized over and over again as finalists and champions in various business and marketing competitions during the DECA competition. There are way too many to name, but I want the board and the community to know that District 20 students and their schools performed very well and made us all proud. I also want to thank and recognize all the sponsors and parents for their support in the success of our DECA programs, which are leaders across the state annually and has been that way for seemingly decades. Last Saturday, our junior ROTC team took home the overall and first place prize in the 20th annual Front Range Invitational Drill Competition. The national competition was hosted at the United States Air Force Academy, where cadets competed in regulation events, exhibitions, and events testing their knowledge of military history and the United States government. Well, congratulations once again to our junior ROTC members. Congratulations to Mountain Ridge Middle School 8th grade students, Yasmin Amadei, I messed that up, Amadou, and Ayush Vispute for advancing to the Colorado State Spelling Bee. Both students are headed to Denver where they will compete against 250 qualifiers from across the state. And just a little bit of, since I don't have a lot of time left, I'll share some history. District 20 has produced Spelling Bee state champions in the past multiple times, and ironically enough, they seem to come from Mountain Ridge Middle School quite often. So if history is any indication, these two young people may have a good chance. A video of Isaac Ortiz, a Timberview Middle School student, has gone viral and even aired on KRDO locally. Isaac regularly plays lively piano performances for the entire student body during Timberview's lunchtime. More impressively, Isaac is entirely self-taught. So if you can just picture a middle school cafeteria and one of their student body playing the piano for them during the lunch period, it feels pretty soothing sometimes. Students from across the district have been named and will continue to be named, but students so far across the district that have been named for as National Merit Scholarship finalists are Rampart High School's Ashut Nambiar and Joshua Dyke, and Air Academy High School students Jack Durenberger, John Locke Filke, and Christopher Spigens. And as I said, you can expect more to be announced in the coming weeks. And at the next board meeting, I'll bring those back to you. And not to let Colonel Sullivan get all of the recognition for Air Academy. The winter sports season is in its final stretch and closes with the state basketball tournament next weekend. District 20 had 3 basketball teams advanced to the round of 8. The 5A number 1 seed Air Academy High School boys played this morning and won, advancing to the Final Four on March 10th. And the 5A 7th seeded Air Academy High School girls team played a quarterfinal game earlier today, ending their very successful season with a really close loss. The 4A number 23 seed TCA boys will play their quarterfinal game, again the round of 8, tomorrow morning, and all of these games, both today, tomorrow, and next weekend, will all be played at the Denver Coliseum. Excuse me, for the first time ever, Discovery Canyon campus hosted a CHSAA state championship on their campus. It has been referenced before. And also for the first time, the speech and debate championships were held in Colorado Springs. Huge kudos to the administrators and staff at Discovery Canyon for volunteering time to plan and host this very large event and making it successful and enjoyable for all. Discovery Canyon campus finished 3rd in 4A in teams overall sweepstakes, and 2nd in 4A in team debate sweepstakes, the highest placing ever for a Discovery Canyon team. DCC also crowned its first ever speech and debate state champion. Presley Shilkatis was the 4A state champion in congressional debate. Will Selmayer was 3rd in informative speaking. Zoe O'Donnell was 4th in poetry reading. Bryn Macros and Wasey Abdai were octo finalists in public forum debate. Shreya Roy and Jake Weber were in the elimination round in Lincoln Douglas debate, and Will Turchin was 10th in international extemp. Special recognition to the team coaches, Megan Bonfield and Jeremy Beckman, for setting these students up for success, helping to coach them, and also for bringing this very large event to Colorado Springs and specifically to Academy District 20. I get invited to many school events, as you could probably imagine. There's almost 40 schools and many events at each school. Unfortunately, I can't attend all of them. I try to spread out as best I can, but with the board's help and cabinet, I think we cover a lot of events. However, today I was able to attend the reading day at Douglas Valley Elementary School, and all I can say is I'm so glad that I was able to, because I selected 3 books to read, but sitting with 2nd graders and for 40 minutes or so, just reading and seeing the energy in them on every word, they're just into it, right? There's so much excitement. I would just suggest to any staff or parents that if you're having a bad day, volunteer at your local elementary school, spend some time in especially if you can, a kindergarten or 1st grade classroom, and it will make your day. And these I've just added. I couldn't go on without recognizing Charlotte. I believe a first time ever kindergartner presentation at the board spotlight tonight. This is the cutest little girl who did her project and into a microphone explained what was happening. And I think that's the first time, at least in my memory, that a kindergartner has been, I'll either say been put in that position or was fortunate enough to be in that position. And she did a wonderful job. And lastly, I would invite the community or make sure everybody knows that we are entering the season of spring musicals at the high schools. The first one is, Mr. LaValle just went over all the dates of the events, but I believe it's 16th. Oh, the play is Grease. So Air Academy will be performing Grease, and they will be doing it the nights of 16, 17, 18. So a board meeting night, and then a Friday night and Saturday night. But please know that those are open to the public. You do need tickets, and I will tell you that it's probably been announced long enough now that Friday night is probably no longer an option, because those usually go very quickly. You just got them? Okay. So please take advantage of these. Again, watching, especially the musicals, but watching these high school kids perform and what they can do is pretty darn amazing. So if you get a chance, please attend. I know you've all been invited, but thank you, Mr. LaValle. That's all I have. And congratulations to our new principals, soon to be new principals after the next vote.
Yes. You know, I just say great parents, great kids, great teachers, great staff, great district. Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Just very, very good news stories. We need a motion to approve the following resolutions. Resolution 156-23, approval of matters relating to administrative staff licensed. Resolution 157-23, approval of matters relating to staff specialist staff. Resolution 158-23, approval of matters relating to licensed staff teachers. Resolution 159-23 to 162-23, approval of resolution for non-renewal of contract or probationary teacher. Resolution 163-23, approval of matters relating to licensed staff, license support / special services provider. Resolution 164-23, approval of resolution for completed intent not to renew INR SSP contract. Resolution 165-23, approval of matters relating to classified staff. Resolution 166-23, approval of language revision to governance process policy 4.9, board agenda planning. Approval of Board of Education work session minutes from 16 February 2023. Approval of Board of Education regular meeting minutes from February 16th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cloninger?
Aye.
Mrs. Cons?
Aye.
Mr. LaValle?
Aye.
Mr. Salt?
Aye.
Mr. Temby?
Aye.
There were up to 24 now. There are 20 people listening online. There are no items pulled for consent. I'd like to take a 7-minute break to congratulate our new principals, and we'll be back. There we go. Thank you. We are back. Next thing is executive limitation policy 2.7, employment compensation and benefits. Mr. Gregory.
Yes, Mr. Smart, please.
Like I've been here before though, so it's okay. All right. First of all, thank you guys. And I appreciate you allowing me to share this report with you on executive limitation 2.7, compensation and benefits. And this, I'm going to go over kind of what it represents regarding to the superintendent's compliance. So it's related to not allowing the district compensation plans to deter attracting and retaining the highest quality staff, not ignoring the opinion of affected parties when determining benefits plans, not developing compensation and benefit plans that deviate materially from the geographic or professional market, and not promising or implying guaranteed employment, not changing the superintendent's own compensation and benefits. And I have supportive data related to the interpretation of the policy provisions that I'll share with you. This policy was last monitored on March of 2022. First things, I'd like to thank the board for the following. So for this year, for the school year, we had a minimum $2 per hour raise, or an average of 15.1% raise for all classified staff at a total cost of $5,317,572. We had a 10% raise for all licensed staff at a total cost of $10,080,104. 7.5% raises for all staff specialists at a total cost of $473,481. And a 5% raises for all administrators at a total cost of $929,862. In addition to that, we also did a one-time bonus that was given to staff in January of 2023, as you may remember. It was kind of parceled out based on full-time, your status as an employee, full-time or greater, which I don't know that anybody greater, but equal to $1,500. Half-time, but less than half-time, so 0.5 to 0.99, received $1,125. And less than full-time, which was 0.01 to 0.49, equals $750, but a total cost of $4,220,703. And again, any of these one-time bonuses would not reflect on their base salary amount because they are not recurring. So as I get into the interpretation, so EL 2.7.1, so there's a couple of things that we look at. One is that we have fewer than 5% of licensed applicants offered contracts decide not to follow through because of salary. So when we track that in Workday. So as we are looking to offer those positions, we keep track of why they decline. And then also fewer than 5% of staff members decide to leave because of salary or wages. And that data also is collected in Workday. So of the licensed applicants engaged in the hiring process, 12 of 641, which is 1.9%, declined an offer of employment based on salary. Last year, we had, that number was 2.95%. So we've done a little bit better this year than last year in that area. Of the staff members who indicated their reason for leaving the district when submitting their resignation, and what happens there? So when they go in and they say, I'm going to resign, or they're leaving the district, whatever that reason is, it requires them to put in a reason. They can also put in a secondary reason if they want, but it does require at least one reason for why you're leaving the district. And so they can select a multitude of categories. One of those is dissatisfaction with pay and benefits. They can either select that as their primary or their secondary. And so we take those reasons, and that's how we get this number. So 38 of 737 responded that way, and that's a 5.16%. So as you can see, that's a little above what our 5% threshold is for that. And last year we were at 4.41% for that same area. And so this percentage exceeds that goal. When we look at what every Student Success Act and the Colorado Department of Education requires for districts to report in-field status, so that means somebody who's teaching, that they're actually teaching in the field that they have their license in. And it encourages the district to prioritize hiring of appropriate licensed teachers who have demonstrated subject matter competency in their teaching area subject, or teaching subject area. So obviously we are tracking the hires to make sure they're fitting in the right category. And so we do require all licensed teaching staff to demonstrate content area mastery. And that's either with an endorsement, so either they have that through the licensing, or they have a degree in that content area, or they have taken a test to say that shows that they have competency, or at least 36 hours in the content area that they're going to be teaching in. And so all teachers currently possess either a license or an authorization. So that may mean they have an ALP, which is an alternative license, or they have a TE. So they have something that's issued from the CDE that allows them to teach. And some of that may be while they're in the process of completing their actual licensure. So, and then in reference to
Mr. Smart?
Yes, sir.
You guys, this is a fairly long one. Let's, if it's okay, interject as we go. It said, or at least 36 hours in the content area. Does that mean, again, I'm thinking of a CC professor, UCCS professor, Air Force Academy professor who wants to teach, high school math, middle school math. Would that be the type of person? They have 36 hours, meaning they're a professor.
It's really related to credits from university. So on their transcript, they have to show that they have that.
Which, in that case, they would. So they could, and that's okay as long as they're working towards the licensure.
Yeah, they would have to get on probably an alternative licensure program, but as long as because they would have a bachelor's by that.
Sure, by definition. So they could
do that.
They could teach. Yep. Is it a year before they have to get their licensure?
For the ALP, I believe it actually goes a little longer than a year because you can renew it while they're continuing that. But so they would be working under an ALP license while they're
ALP is alternative licensure program.
So yeah, so that allows them to go through and get the necessary coursework they need to do and the other units they need to complete in order to actually officially get their license from the CD.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but if we hire them at 0.9, we can keep them, if you will, for longer term, and they don't need to.
That's an adjunct professor, so that's different. Adjunct professors fall a little bit under a different category, not necessarily an ALP. So like, for instance, if I needed someone to teach strings to the band, and I have somebody who has experience in that, I can hire them as an adjunct professor to come in and teach just that area. CDE hasn't really defined what that percentage is. We try to stay 0.7 or lower on the adjunct professors for the most part. Matter of fact, we had a former board member who taught science for us because his
Mr. Lumberg
expired, and
yes,
it was the easiest way to get him in the classroom for us.
Okay, thank you.
So as far as, let me go back to EL 2.7.1, because of that fact that we didn't meet the 5% threshold, we are out of compliance in that area. And then in reference to EL 2.7.2, the district supported the committee's, the benefits committee's recommendation of a rate pass, and that basically means that there was, for this year, there was a 0 increase to healthcare cost. And then on top of that, we also reduced premiums for staff by 10% for this year. We are anticipating and hoping that we can do another premium reduction for next year as well. And so we are in compliance with EL 2.7.2. In EL 2.7.3, this is where we include that comparative data across state and also what we call our own backyard, Pikes Peak region, for neighboring school districts. So this would be for teachers, this will be for classified staff, for site admin, and also for district administrators. So we pull all that data to look at that. One of the things I want to make of note, we did add, Manitou Springs is not one of the school districts that works with OHMS, which is the company that kind of provides this data for us. But so because they're not subscribing to OHMS, they don't usually get included in their data. So we realized then with it, well, we should probably include them. They're close enough. And so I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to give you a quick spoiler alert. We are in the top quartile for teacher pay, but we're like at the very bottom of that top quartile. So in past, we've been like probably around number 2, usually 1 or 2. We are number 4 at this point, and I'll tell you kind of where that landed. So Fountain Fort Carson, they start at $49,000. Manitou Springs, $45,207. And this really sticks in my craw, but anyway, Cheyenne Mountain, $45,010. And then we are at $45,000. So I told Dr. Peak, I'm not telling you anything until it's all done. So, so you can kind of see that's where we land right now. And then as far as all Colorado districts, we're in the top 12.4% for minimum salary and the top 4.1% for maximum. Now, ours is a little different because, we don't have a salary schedule. So maximum is kind of just based on who we have at the maximum right now. I mean, we could create a number to say this is our maximum, but it's kind of almost to infinity because we don't have it. We don't have a cap. So that's why that maximum is a little more difficult. So based on published wages for 2022-23 and related to our geographic market of the 14 districts for teacher salaries that we surveyed, the district does not deviate from being in the top quartile related to minimum salaries for teachers. Again, we're at the bottom of that top, but we're still in that top quartile. And we do not deviate from being in the top quartile related to maximum salaries. Last year, we did not deviate either in that category as well. We were within the range we needed to be. For classified staff, based on the wages that we looked at, and that's 45 classified positions. Now, classified are unique because we might have a position that only one or two other districts have, or they, so it's not always lining up perfectly apples to apples. It's not like everybody has the same positions. And also some of those positions might be titled very same or very similar, but when you look at actual job duties, they're different. For instance, one of our positions we have is district secretary, that we have our ladies that are in the front that, kind of when you come in, they check you in. That's what ours is. It's more really like a clerk, in our sense. But when you look at other districts, it's more of a higher level secretary position. So we don't really match. It's not apples to apples in that situation. So we also try to look at that when we can, so that we're looking at really comparative data and what the job duties are compared to what our job duties are for a similar position, so that we're not like getting mismatched. Because it's easy to say, well, we're out of compliance because this position, but when we really look at the position, it's not even the same. So we try to do a good job of cross-referencing those when we're going through this. So we did have 2 of the 45 classified positions that did not meet the top quartile for minimum rates. And one of those is that one, but again, it's comparing to positions that are not necessarily exactly the same. So that's kind of a little caveat to that one. The other one is security officer. We're a little behind on that. But in the top quartile, we're fine. On the maximum salaries, we meet that threshold. Last year, we had 18 out of 44 that were deviated from the top quartile and minimum. So that raise that we did, that $2 an hour, really helped us get those up to where they needed to be. So now, rather than 18, we only have 2. And again, one of those is that weird one. And we did have 2 that deviated from maximum, and this year we have 0. So for principals and assistant principals, based on the wages, we looked at 31 school districts. So not only just our area, but we looked at the metro area and the Front Range. So we expanded our look a little bit, because again, when you're looking at administrators, you may have somebody who's willing to leave one location to come and take a position. Classified's a little more difficult. We're not going to probably get someone to drive from Denver to be a custodian for us, but we may get a teacher that'll move from Denver to come down here. So we looked at those. And we did deviate in the top quartile related for minimum salaries for 1 of the 7 principals. So, and it really was down to 1 school district that kind of threw us out of that, again, just a little bit, and that's high school principals. We don't, when we compare it to minimum salaries for that, we do fall just outside of the top quartile for that range. And then the rest are in compliance in those positions as far as any other admin for site admin. And last year, I think we did not deviate from those maximum or minimum salaries as far as being in the top quartile. For central office administrators, we looked at the same number of school districts and compared, and that's related to our 6 central office administrative positions. And last year we did deviate for 3 of those for minimum salaries, but when you looked at what they were actually being paid at the time, we were in compliance, but just based on what was published minimum salaries, we didn't. This year we do not deviate from minimum or maximum salary, so we're in the top quartile in all those 6 positions. So those have been corrected. So when I say we are out of compliance for 2.73, but it's not because of teachers, it's because of the classified in that one high school principal position that we don't meet the threshold.
Mr. Temby.
Mr. Smart, two questions. One, have we, and this is a fluid situation, so I commend you for pulling this together, and then somebody one-ups you, and, you know, so it's a moving target. But have we assigned, for lack of a better term, the fiscal note to coming into compliance? How much more would that take?
Yeah.
Budgetarily to get into the right competitive situation, make sure we're placed as intended?
Yeah.
And then the second question, a little bit more esoteric, other than a sterling marketing effort, what do you attribute the success of the job fair to?
Sure.
Not solely the attractiveness of D20, but
the first point, we looked at the security, and we looked at what we would need to kind of get us what we feel to be in compliance. And it would be a little over $40,000 to get us to that range. For the high school principal, we're kind of waiting to see what we're going to do, is if we're able to do any additional raises for next year. We feel that will get us into, because it's really just a probably less than 2,000 drop that we're out of that compliance. So we're not that far off. We're very close. So we figure if we are able to do something, that it'll bump us up. And then once we do that, we'll look again and see if we're in a good spot. So for the job fair, first of all, Allison's team did a great job. We don't get that many people without great promotion, and they have done a great job of getting not only the word out to the right place, to the right market, to the right people. And you guys might have heard our announcements as the weeks were leading up to the event. And then our team really, Alicia and Betsy, there are two executive secretaries. They have a 12-week plan of planning this event, and they do such a great job of making sure everything's in order and questions are being answered. And so, you know, an event that large and to pull it off like that, it takes a lot of people. So they're the main ones. And then we have a couple of directors, Holly and Kelly, who would kind of direct them. And then if you were there, you didn't see all our staff, because some of them were upstairs helping people with applications and with benefits and salaries. And then we have people checking people in. So all those folks there really help put that event off and make it go well. So for us, we feel like all those components have to be in play. You know, we can't just trust just on our reputation. We have to be out there pushing and telling people about what we do. Yeah, I think Mr. Gregory wants to also share. So I think it's a great team effort to pull that off.
Because I can't make anything simple. The answer to your question, Mr. Temby, is depends. And I mean that with all seriousness, because when you raise a minimum, you can raise the minimum so any new employee coming in hits that minimum, but everybody else stays where they are. So you compress, or you can raise the minimum and raise all other salaries, if you will, in that same category by a commensurate amount. Those are two very different costs associated with them. You know, one kind of follows the, you know, rising all ships with the water rise, and the other one doesn't follow that. So there's two very different numbers, and in the past, at least historically, it's been pretty much cost prohibitive to raise all ships, if you will, that same amount, especially when you get into classifications or positions where there may be hundreds or, you know, multiple hundreds or over 1,000 of them. Then the cost becomes high very, very quickly. So when I say depends, we're generally raising the floor and stopping there. So historically, our salaries have been compression versus raising all. I'm not sure when you mentioned $40,000, Cameron, which of those categories?
This one, we really tried to rise everybody. Again, for that factor is, well, now all of a sudden I've pushed somebody who's been here longer, you know, and somebody who's not been in here as long with somebody who's been here longer. And then there's like, well, now I've lost kind of my gain, so to speak. So we were trying to look at it from that perspective whenever we can. Yeah. All right. Okay. And so, yeah, so for that's where we landed on EL 2.73 and why we said we were out of compliance in that area. Just some anecdotal data. We have 1,606 non-administrative staff, so mostly teachers. The average salary That's for us this year is around 60,000. And the number of years teachers worked in the district is 7 years and 2 months. Last year, that number was actually, the average was 7 years and 7 months. So we're seeing a little bit lower there. The average teaching career is 13.2 as far as teachers in our district. And we have the average level of education is a master's degree, and we have 30 folks with doctorate degrees. They're in the teaching. When you relate that to Colorado, now Colorado and national are always behind. So Colorado numbers are 2021-22, not this year. And so they're around 60,000 as well. But I will tell you, when we get the data for what this year is, that'll be higher than that. And then the state or national is actually even further behind, it's 2 years behind, that's 65,000, which means 2 more years of added growth. That's probably closer to 70 when you look at national average. So any questions I can answer?
Ms. Cloninger.
I just want to say, I thought I would just peek in at the job fair, but I went to almost all of the, I was all over there. I ended up being there for like 2.5 hours. I didn't mean to, but I'm a talker. But I just wanted to say thank you to, I know, it was shocking. I just wanted to say thank you to Crystal and her and Allison's team, but Crystal did a lot of work on getting that message out. And your team did a fantastic job. It was a great, I missed the balloons. It was a little bit lackluster.
We didn't have the balloon arch because we.
Other than that, it was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I will tell you, they didn't give me any time for hair and makeup, so I apologize on TV if I didn't look my best.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. I have a last question. This is one of those I know the answer to, but I think for our listening audience, they may say, why don't you just do average salaries and compare average salaries?
Well, I think because we're, when you're looking at trying to attract folks initially first into the teaching positions, we're looking at that minimum salary that it's going to take to attract. But because of the way everybody does their salaries a little bit differently, and how they even their columns of what they have for education columns and how those land, to look at average, it's a little more difficult to pinpoint where we would land, and it could make us look like we're less competitive or more competitive in that sense. So we feel like looking at the minimum where everybody's starting at is probably the best solution for us.
I agree, and also I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it has to do with if you have an older like we're a great district. Teachers tend to stay here. If you're in a district that is not very good, you're going to bail. And so you're going to have a bunch of younger teachers on a lower salary compared to another district, and that can skew the data as well. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, that'd be correct.
Yeah.
Same with the education level. That may vary from district to district, where you have a district of highly educated, lots of master's degrees, PhD types, versus another district that might be right next door that it's mostly bachelor's degrees. Both of those years of experience and education level could throw off an average pretty significantly.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Smart. Appreciate it. MRE. Is the superintendent's interpretation of the policy reasonable? Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Well, there is. The next question, I think, So the next question is, are all sections in compliance? No. And I think you got it. Thank you. Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance. Yep. Preparation for the next report cycle. Would you like to see additional or different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next monitoring report cycle? Do you see any evidence which is extraneous and no longer necessary? All right, next up is Superintendent's Report and Resolutions, Accreditation Handbook Revisions for School Year 2023-2024. Mr. Gregory.
Dr. Field, please.
Hi, good evening. So we're going to talk about real quickly the DAC Accreditation Handbook. And you can see by my tabs, I have just a few changes that I want to share with you this evening. So I'm starting on page 7, and you can see on your screen that anything that was highlighted were the changes this year or the updates. The accreditation subcommittee meets first and goes over the handbook, and then we make the changes, and then I shared it with the entire DAC, and then they approve it as well. So it's here for you. There's just a couple quick changes I want to share with you. On the bottom of page 7, You can see I highlighted district schools submit UIPs and DIP to the state by October 15th. It used to be in January. Was it January 15th? Oh, April. There you go. But now this year was the first year we had everybody write early and everything was done by October 15th. So it was a crunch. Okay, so the next change, I'm just going to advance a slide here, a page or two, is on page 9. You can see the highlighted area there. It says Assistant Superintendent for Learning Services. It used to say Assistant Superintendent for Administrative Services. That was Dr. Smith's old title and when Dr. Smith used to do DAC. So we just updated that. And then if you go over to page 12, are we on page 12? There we go. We changed staff development to professional learning because that's the language we use now. And then the next big one is the next page. Maybe not the next page, is it there? There's professional learning, I apologize. So these two sentences I highlighted here on page 13, it now says Academy District 20 utilizes a strategic planning model for site planning. This model calls for schools to use the site planning process as a roadmap to attain student achievement objectives. It used to say that we utilized the Cambrian model, so I just took that out. And then I also added the word strategic to objectives because it aligns with our strategic plan because we call them as strategic objectives. And then the last update just provides you all with a list of schools that, first of all, on page 25, don't watch your screen because I'm going to power through these. Don't get dizzy. Sorry. So this is our list, not the bright yellow column. That was the COVID year. We didn't do any that year, but if you go over to 23-24, you can see all the schools I highlighted that will be participating in site planning next year. And then when you go to the next page, we have departments, but I don't believe we'll have any departments next year. We still have security and we still have communications to do as well. So those are all of our schools that will be participating in site planning next year. And most of it, like I've told you, is done between September and the winter holiday. We do have one school, we did a couple this January and we have Eagle View this May, but most of them go in the fall. So I'm going to power through real quick again. So external review, which I did a report on last board meeting. You can see here the number of schools that are highlighted on the far right-hand side that will be undergoing external review in the fall. And that actually has a pretty tight window. We start external reviews about the last week of September. It's rare somebody goes in September. Mostly everybody goes in October up to Thanksgiving break. So we have 12 again. We had 13 this year, and we're looking forward to that. And these are the changes for our accreditation and accountability handbook. Do you all have any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Field. I should have known that yellow was changes. That's my bad. That was my dumb question. I admit it. So
actually, Mr. Salt had a good idea last year because when I did this last year, he's like, so what did you change? Because I just submitted.
And I've said that before.
Yeah.
And so I should have known of all people because I've always said, hey, just pick. Anyways, that's my bad. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mid-year assessment update, NWEA map growth and Acadian to redact data. Mr. Gregory.
Yeah, Dr. Field again, and I believe team
We
also.
have a fabulous team here this evening. So Jolynn Patterson, Director for Assessment, and Andy Ruskin, Director for Literacy, are going to walk you through this report.
Good evening. You will remember that in December, Dr. Field and I worked on the E11 report along with Mrs. Kuzer and several of our team members. That data and information looked at the previous school year data from 21 to 22. So this year we're looking at our current data from fall to winter. So fall of 22 to winter of 23. Today I spent the day planning for next year. So now my years are all starting to get a little mixed up inside my head. Okay, So our first slide, well, Andy and I, as we prepared for tonight, we wanted to tie the work that we're doing together here with the strategic plan. And so the first strategic priority for priority number 2, which is ensuring academic excellence for all, you will see on this slide. And the math goal specifically states that 60% of the students will earn a 500 or higher on the SAT math exam. You'll remember that's part of our CMAS suite, our Colorado Measures of Academic Success that we'll be taking this spring as a district. Our current baseline for that is 52%. So when we look at tonight's data, the tie to this piece is that MAP growth is an indicator or a piece of this data that helps us monitor how our students are currently doing and identifying areas of strength or areas we might need to change or improve instruction so that students can meet these goals this spring when we take our state assessments. And then the next slide looks at reading.
All right, so the second goal tied to reading is by the end of this school year, we will increase the number of proficient third grade readers to 85% as measured by Acadience Reading. And you'll hear a lot more about this later in the presentation.
So in the beginning of the presentation, we're going to spend our time now looking at MAP growth. Remember, MAP growth is the assessment and NWA is the vendor that we're working with. This is the 3rd year that we implemented our MAP growth testing. So we're starting to see historical data as well as how we performed this winter and this fall as well. So moving right along, what I want you to remember is that MAP growth, and we've spent a lot of time last year talking about, really provides us with an instructional level for students. It helps teachers see what are kids ready to learn next? What skill, what standard are they ready to work on? And so that's the big focus. So it's looking at that instructional level of the student. It's providing a roadmap of where the students can achieve the mastery piece, but it is not, so at the same time you want to think about, it's not a grade level assessment. So it's not like if you score super high, you know everything you need to know about 6th grade. It's really about what do you know, what are you ready to learn and experience next? So based on standards, just kind of thinking it's just a little bit different way to look at it. So I turned my page, but not your slide. All right, so MAP growth is given fall, winter, and this year, kindergarten through 8th grade, we have agreed, our principals have agreed to test in spring as well. High school is going to hold on that for right now, so they're doing fall and winter because high school has so many other high stakes assessments. In the spring, there's some challenges with IB and AP and final exams and all those pieces. But we're excited that for the first time, we will have 3 points of data this year. So we'll have fall, winter, and spring. Language arts is given or reading to grades 4 through 10 because Andy's going to share data about our K through readers. I will tell you our schools have the option to test in K3 and a lot of them are utilizing that data and information. And then for math, we test grades K through 10, which this year is the first year we've tested 10th graders. Our high school principals were very much motivated by this new assessment and the data and the information we were gathering that they asked us to provide, let them test their 10th graders as well. So that's a really good place to sit when you work in assessment and you're the director of assessment and people want to see more data and information. It speaks a lot to the 2 years we spent doing a program evaluation around assessment in the district and putting out a request for proposal, an RFP for that new tool. And so this year, so I've learned a lot over the years. So you'll notice the report, well, you may notice or you may not, who knows how, you know, but I put together an overview of the data this year for you as I've gotten a little smarter with our data and information as well. And we now have historical data. So the first slide that you're looking at is looking at winter. So it's from fall to winter. It's looking at historical data. So if you start on the left, you're looking at reading for a percentile score first for 2001, not 2001, geez, just lost 20 years of my life. 2021, 2022, and 2023 for those percentiles. So that looks more at achievement. It's how kids performed on that day, and it's an achievement percentile. The far right looks at the median growth percentile. And so that's what we see typically like on CMAS when we're looking for that 50 for students to meet. That's a similar score that we look at for CMAS as well. what I wanted to share is that recently we met with our vendor from Map Growth, and she said, I just drool over your school district scores. So we sit in a great place, and I think we know that about ourselves, but it's nice to see that our kids are continuing to improve. Tonight, Andy and I did provide the Board of Education with a folder, because I know sometimes you're very interested in how our individual school, Exhibit A, how our individual schools are performing. And so that looks very similar to last year. They're in order. If you look down at one thing to think about when you're looking at the gradient, it'll go from green to yellow, but sometimes it doesn't equate like we would think about exceeding or did not meet. The gradient colors are like from of the scores you see in front of you. Does that make sense? So if you're a 99, it's going to be really dark green. Like one of them I remember looking at, sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head, but like there was the colors changed a little bit. So just knowing that's a gradient color change there when you look at those reports. So we're looking at percentile and achievement. And then we're looking at that median growth percentile on the far left. So this was reading, and then we're going to look at the same information for math on the next slide. And you'll notice that this is the first year that 10th grade had taken the assessment. So that's why we noted, or I noted on this slide, that we did not have data for those grade levels previously. It's kind of fun sometimes to look diagonally at the data, because you might be thinking, okay, well, here's the kindergartners in 2021. Now I don't trust myself. I'm like, I know I'm like 2021. And then if you look diagonally, it's not the exact same kids, but it's a close cohort of those same students. So I also spent time looking at it diagonally, going, how are those kids progressing as we're moving them forward to other grade levels? So just a piece you might note as well.
Can I just ask you, because we were at Doug Valley today, how do you do that with that group that's so yeah, I just wondered.
They have a lot of movement at their building. So our map growth data, because it's doing growth calculations, it's looking student compared to student. So if a student just showed up, they're not going to be in the calculation. So it's taking that student over time. And so those kids that move in or leave, and that would be true for every school we have in the district. Because
Jolene, would it be true to say that they have to be, sorry, to your left,
that's exactly.
they would have to be for this year, and even if we project forward to the spring, for their scores to be included in all this data, they would have had to have participated in the fall, the winter, and the spring when we get there.
When we get to spring, correct.
Or for now, just the fall and winter. But
what do we call them? Not sessions, but each testing, like the fall window, and then the winter window, they would have had to have been, they could have changed schools on us, but that data and information will still travel with them. That doesn't happen. We don't see a lot of movement between schools, but if a student were in the district, same thing happens with CMAS. Like, so in the spring, like when Encompass Heights was a brand new school, people are like, how do we have scores? Well, because these students were represented in other schools, either in the district or the state, and they had a score that traveled with them. Does that help? Okay. So the next slide looks at, so our scores really look very well. We see lots of growth occurring. So for reading, the MGP, the median growth percentile in grades 4 through 10 increased at every grade level, which is really exciting to see as 3 years coming out of COVID, implementing this new testing system during a pandemic remotely. So seeing kids with that progress, growth for math increased in 8 of the 9 grade levels. And then achievement for the percentile score increased as well in 9 of the 11th grade levels, sorry. And then areas to watch, I really struggled, honestly, because there aren't huge differences, statistical differences in the scores of the students that we see, especially when you look at a whole grade level in the district. It looks very different when we spend time looking at an individual school, breaking it down by the classroom teacher, and looking at individual students. But one area that we might want to, that we will keep an eye on, is that reading percentile in grade 6 did drop by 5 points. So those are just some areas that I highlighted for you. This next slide has become very near and dear to learning services. We had started using this visual around our PLCs and the PLC work. So you'll see that it highlights the 4 questions of PLC. What do we want students to know and be able to do? How will we know they've learned it? How will we respond if they didn't learn it? Or how will we respond if they already know it? So I just wanted to put this visual back in front of you because we work closely as a learning services team with our schools. We work quarterly with our principals, and what we do, we call them data cycles, and this is our second year. And so we work through this graphic in different ways. And what's exciting is most recently at our data cycle tomorrow, we actually are working with elementary principals. So we have to be awake and ready to go. No, but we just recently worked with the middle school principals, and their request was, could the TOSA team, because Andy and I do not do this alone. We have TOSAs, teachers on special assignment. We work as a team. Could they come back and use their time at their end of year retreat to do more of this data work and this data learning together, which was super exciting that we have that much momentum right now. Because what I always say is without data and information, we can't make changes in the classrooms and we can't meet the kids' needs. And so that is super fun to think about.
Jolyn, I'm sorry. It's Nicole up front here.
I don't know why I'm having such
I know.
because
it comes from everywhere. I just wanted to suggest if me. And if I stood up, you still wouldn't. I just want to suggest if other people think it's a good idea that the previous slide about the PLC cycle perhaps goes out in some more school communications to parents.
That's a great, because we've probably 2 years, maybe this is our second year of like, it's become kind of like, I'm joking, I tease, we might all need a tattoo with the thing on, we take it, because we've used it, we have 3 versions. We have a version that looks at the 4 questions, and then we have one we use when we're doing behavior training and thinking about student behaviors and how we can support them. So I think that's a great idea. Dr. Field, will you just note that? Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
okay.
We'll all remember eventually, but at this point, I want to make sure, I think that's a great idea. And as we're communicating with parents around the PLCs and how important that work is. And it's super helpful.
If I may, one other humble request. Sorry.
No, I'm like,
if you could include,
I had an ear infection and I just finished antibiotics for it. So I'm a little concerned. Maybe my ear's not fixed.
if you could include the individual schools' data in the board packet beforehand, electronic
You could have
copies.
it ahead of time
Yeah.
yourselves. not
Yes,
for everyone.
I think that would be helpful so we could look at it, because I want to listen to you, but I'm digging into the
You're busy
data.
studying.
Yeah,
That's why we don't give handouts to kids ahead of time.
there you go.
Well, and I've been talking to Tina about different ways to provide data for you guys, because remember you have your handy dandy notebooks and I hole punched everything for you to put in there. But I've been trying to think of some ways, maybe even electronically, that we could have like a board. I know I'm segueing right now, but I've given it a lot of thought about somewhere that because then the historical data would be in one place. So we've been talking, it's on my whiteboard right now as like a summer goal of being able to work to put that in a place for y'all. So you'd have all that historical data that I've shared and then easier access to it rather than all your pieces of paper.
As a suggestion, could it be something like we just did with Dr. Cooper with that? It was.
I don't know what you did with Dr. Cooper.
I know, but I'm
just shaking yes. So
Basically,
I'm just
it's a
saying-
SharePoint drive where we can drop
Okay,
everything.
But it's
That's
a
what I'm talking
Teams
about.
thing that they could
Yep.
put it, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So just know that's on my list, and it's because I'm just thinking that there's more efficient ways than your handy dandy notebook. But I'm happy to print them for you anytime as well. And then you'd get them faster, Mr. LaValle, too, because they've been sitting on my table waiting for you. So, so we can work on that piece. The next slide I had shared with you last year, so I just brought it back as just kind of a reminder. So there's some questions on here, and what it really looks at, and the next slide will make it more clear, but is how do we know students are growing academically and that they're making the appropriate level of growth? So a lot of times the fine print on that slide really looks at students that we might be catching up, students that we're helping keep up because we want them to stay on grade level, and then students that need to move up. So when you think specifically about kids who need to catch up that are not working on grade level, we know we need to move them more than a year's growth in a year, or they will never catch up to their peers and their grade level learning. So that was just kind of another highlight piece that I wanted to be just put back in front of us today as we're looking at data and thinking about the areas that we're focusing on. And then next, Andy is going to share some READACT data.
Good evening. So excited to be back and always happy to talk about reading data. Before I launch into things, I do want to introduce my teammates, the literacy team, Georgiana Rappaport and Katie McClendon. It's a small team but mighty. So when I refer to the literacy team, here we are. Of course, we collaborate and work with all of our learning services team, but I wanted to say thanks for coming. And that's the team. All right, well, this evening, concerning the REDAC data, just a reminder, we use the Acadience Reading Screener. Thank you. Green button. To assess all of our kindergarten through third grade students. The test is given 3 times a year, right at the beginning in January and again in May. As previously shared, the district has articulated a clear reading goal. At least 85% of third graders will be on or above grade level by the end of this year. In addition to this target, we have outlined additional expectations. For students not demonstrating on or above level reading, the goal is that they are reading with 95% accuracy and or they have moved out of the well below range. Shortly, I'll share a screenshot of a report that helps us measure these important data points. Why focus on third grade? Before looking at specific grade level data, I want to explain why we are focused specifically on third grade results. Research finds that third graders, who are lacking proficiency in reading are 4 times more likely to become high school dropouts. Studies have discovered that early intervention that occurs in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade is more effective than in later years. For some students, 1 year is not enough time to gain the knowledge and skills required for on-level reading. Targeting end-of-year third grade reading results allows time needed for those students to close the gap through ongoing targeted intervention and classroom instruction. Ensuring students are secure readers by the end of third grade is important because 4th grade reading standards focus on reading to learn rather than learning to read. All right, a little bit of a key before looking at the charts. Please remember BOY is for beginning of year. MOI is middle of year. Red and yellow represents well below or below grade level reading, and green and blue are on or above. All right, so now taking a closer look at each grade level, starting with our youngest learners. Kindergarten highlights are that 190 students have moved out of the well below range, and 80% of kindergarten students are on or above grade level at mid-year. The trend lines on the top graph slant significantly to the right, helping us see the large drop in the number of red scores and the large increase of green and blue scores from the beginning of the year till now. The lower bar graph shows us a 3-year mid-year benchmark trend. So from the 2021 school year to the current school year, you can see the increase over time of students performing at grade level by mid-year. In January 2021, 60% of kindergarten students were performing on or above grade level. This January, 80% of kindergarten students are performing on or above grade level. Because each year a different cohort of kindergartners is assessed, this increase would suggest that our schools and teachers are becoming more effective in their practice of educating our youngest students, which is both exciting and motivating as we continue our challenging work. And please don't hesitate to jump in with questions if you have them.
Ms. Ruskin, I do a comment mostly and a question. As long as the slope of the line of these things is positive, we're doing well. And all of these are positive, which is good through 3rd grade. So that good on us for doing, which is great news. Perhaps a dumb question. This is REDAC data. Separate testing entirely from map growth?
Correct.
Okay, completely separate testing. Okay, I thought that. I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Yes, and you mentioned we have a good trend going in all grade levels. So again, with 1st grade, some highlights. 54 students have moved out of the well below range, and 73% of 1st graders are on or above grade level. The trend lines again slant to the right or in that positive direction, indicating the drop in red and the increase of green and blue. While the improvement is not as dramatic as the one we saw in kindergarten, it is still substantial. Next slide. Looking at the bottom of the slide, we can see a positive trend overall, better mid-year performance from our first graders, again, pointing to more effective instructional practices. Second grade, 52 of our students have moved out of well below, and 78% of our second graders are on or above. You can see again the trend lines. It's important to note that by second grade, those students who are struggling with reading often demonstrate significant challenges in learning. So it becomes learning to read, and the older students get, if you struggle, becomes harder and harder. And you'll notice that the yellow band in second grade is relatively small. So you're really starting to see a difference between those students who are getting those skills that they need and are able to kind of start to move more efficiently with less intensive instruction. And then we have the other end of that spectrum where we have students that are finding it continually challenging to move. And it's very important to continue to increase the intensiveness and the targeted intervention with these students. All right, which brings us to third grade, our big goal. So at this point, 89 students have moved out of the well below range. 77% of our third grade students are on or above grade level. And we wanted to point out the exciting data that 58%, over half of our third graders, are performing above grade level standards. So that kind of pink slash and circle is really pointing out that over half of the students are performing above grade level. In order to reach our goal of 85% proficiency, 114 students need to move into the green. And of course, we can't let any slip back into the yellow. So the literacy team is working hard to support our schools. We have presented to our elementary administrators. I'm meeting with all principals individually. I have my handy dandy data binder with all the classes and kids, and it's great to have pretty intimate conversations about which kids are we going to move and how are we doing it and where do you need help. We are also seeing a lot of great work happening in those PLC meetings. Schools are digging into their data to ensure targeted student instruction. As with other grade levels, our 3-year trend is promising, moving from 68% of third graders proficient at mid-year to 77% this year.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
So the data we're looking at here, does that include the charter schools in this data set?
It does include New Summit, and it includes TCA Central.
Okay. And so are those students, I'm assuming, part of that 85% goal as well?
Correct.
And so are you working with them, the charters, with this data, or have you kind of turned data over to them and said, ask us if you have questions?
I would say our relationship with our charter schools is a positive one. We have contacts there, we work closely, and we tend to sit back if they reach out to us and have questions and ask for help. We really can't deny anyone that wants to help kids, learn how to read. So we partner with them, but it's more on a basis if they reach out.
Thank you.
Whereas we really insert ourselves into all of our our D20 home schools.
Ms. Reskin, why only TCA Central?
Well, a part of it was devices. So in order to take the assessment on this platform, all students needed, teachers need access to an iPad or a tablet. And so they're thinking of potentially rolling it into the other schools as well. It's an expensive endeavor up front. All right, so overall, our K-3 summary, 385 students have moved out of the red. 77% of our students are on or above grade level. Again, over half, 58% of our K-3 students are reading above grade level. And our 3-year trend shows an improvement of 11% more proficient students from the 2021 school year. All right, so we can't just sit and look at numbers all day. tempting as that can be.
As you were speaking, I was thinking about, just really quickly, we sat with Julie, who was just announced as the Mountain View teacher, and she was talking about, wasn't it Julie? I believe it was. We had
Corinne at Mountain View or Julie at
Julie going to Frontier, sorry. And she was talking about how they were celebrating their kids that had moved out of this, and they had taken 49 or however many, and put like stars kind of hanging down from their teacher workroom, so that as all the teachers came in, they could actually visually see how many of these kids. So speaking of the visual, I just thought that was really neat that that they were taking it to that level and highlighting those efforts, because that's huge.
It is huge. It's not easy, and teachers are working very hard. So I think too, our administrators do a great job of celebrating, keeping the foot on the gas, but really celebrating and recognizing successes.
I would say it's done in different ways in each school. And I don't know, I'll just say there's the older version of what's called the data wall. I mean things kind of come and go. Now it's kind of in a folders, as I understand, by many principals. But if you go to Pioneer, and you probably don't have to ask because Mr. Casebeer will probably take you. Every time I go there, we walk straight to the room that's covered by a screen or a curtain, and he'll open up the curtain, and it's this really what Andy is showing.
It's like
There's
smaller or a larger version.
It's that same idea. That's the folder that I was referring to, but because the entire school's bought into that. But you can visually kind of all these charts that Andy's shown with the red and yellow and green and blue. You see up on a wall with every student's. It's got their picture actually, but a color. And as the year goes on, you want to see the goal is to see the movement to the right, but they always have the color where they started. So at the end of the year, if you see a red that's now over in the blue category, that's tremendous movement for that student. But he spends, I just think whether it's a folder or a wall, it creates that focus all the time, and you can celebrate certainly at certain times, but I think it's a really cool thing to see. And I'm just a visual person, so I like the wall concept. But it's just really interesting to go in there. And oh, by the way, I would say at Pioneer, it's all like immediate. It feels like, they get the data one day and like 2 days later, they've moved kids on the wall because they want to see what this looks like at the end. But if you ever get a chance, it gives an idea of what's in that folder. Just different ways of viewing it. But ask Mr. Casebeer to see it's called the data wall, and it's covered with a curtain so that only certain people can see it. But it's a really great visual to see exactly what Andy's presenting with these colors.
Yeah, I think what that speaks to as well is just that idea that these aren't just charts and graphs for us, it's students and it's their success. So we're really intimately involved with all the numbers, all the progress monitoring, and truly I would say every elementary school utilizes not only the late PLC starts to have what most of them call an even broader conversation about data and instruction, but definitely weekly on top of that, where it's grade level teams with specialists in the room and interventionists, and they're all just working hard for kids. So it's impressive, which is a great segue. So taking action. We are holding ourselves accountable. All administrators and their staffs know the goal and are monitoring their progress toward it with the support of the literacy department. Principals are working collaboratively, learning from each other and replicating effective practices. I mentioned last year, but again, we had Dr. Stevens, Craig Stevens from High Plains presented to all the principals. He had significant growth from the beginning of the year to mid-year, and he shared his practices, as well as Carrie Evans at Ranch Creek had both high growth and high achievement, and also shared out. So we're continuing, wanting to put the experts in front of other experts, and our team of principals work very closely together and are always wanting to one-up each other, which is fantastic when it comes to reading. Let's see, our schools continue to communicate and collaborate with families. Families of students that have read plans or other learning plans contribute to the plan development and receive regular updates. We are implementing and improving on our structured literacy practices. And if you want to know more about those, there's a little information on the handout in your packet. But it's really about being very explicit and sequential and really individualizing instruction for every student based on their need. I mentioned the professional learning communities. We use this time to really dig into data, but more importantly, use the data to inform the actual instruction. School structures are in place that protect intervention time, such as target time or win time, ensuring all students receive targeted intervention that supports their specific learning need. And I want to kind of bring up at this point that, you know, all those students achieving above grade level, they're a part of this entire process as well. So when I talk about what students need, it's not just students who struggle with reading, but it's students who are flying with reading. And what do they need to push them to the next level and support their growth as well? So all students are a part of these targeted times. Teachers are learning how to use specific data sets, one of which we'll look at in a moment, to really hone in on the instructional leverage points of their students through data folder systems, which visual we have, or targeted instruction, data walls, flexible grouping, and regular progress monitoring. Students are receiving what they need to close the learning gaps and extend their knowledge and skills. And because of our love of data, we just couldn't pass up this opportunity to share a little example of what we're speaking of. So this slide shows a little sample of a report that we can pull from Acadience Reading. And you'll see in this particular sample that I pulled, primarily the students aren't yet at green. So those circles represent their overall composite score. But when we dig into this data, we first look to see if they're reading accurately. So I mentioned part of our goal, if a student's not proficient, the expectation is they're reading with 95% accuracy. So that column that's numbered 1 with the red text shows us how each of these students is performing as far as accuracy in reading. Why this is important is because it's letting us know if a student is able to really know the letter sounds, blend the letter sounds into words as they read, which is that first building block. You need to be able to do that before you can move on to the other components. It gets deeper because then you dig into, well, what letter sounds are they missing, or what blends are they missing? And so it's to that intimate level that you're really targeting instruction. We then look at, you'll see there's a few students who are already what you would say, you know, proficient or above that 95% mark in accuracy. So the next step is we look at rate. What is their rate of reading, which is that column numbered 2. And again, that would be a place to intervene. So are they can decode words and read words, but are they doing it fluently? Because if you're not reading at an appropriate rate, by the time you read the last word of the paragraph, if you're not reading fluently, you've forgotten what you've read at the beginning of the paragraph. So there's a lot of targeted practice and instruction that happens with rate. And then the final 2 columns on the right, which I've numbered number 3, those help us dig into a little bit about reading comprehension. So they may be reading and reading fluently, but are they understanding what they're reading? And that, of course, is the ultimate goal. So it's interesting to kind of look at this breakdown of scores because you can see different profiles of students, right? Some students are understanding what they read, but they're actually reading very, you know, they may be choppy or making a lot of mistakes. And so even though they may have fairly high comprehension scores in this instance, you still go back and you make sure that they can decode words, because when they're a doctor and they're reading medical texts, they need to be able to decode those unfamiliar words rather than just using their background knowledge and context to make sense of, you know, pretty familiar topics. So this is the fun science behind the reading and what we always geek out about and love to dig into and go to our classroom teams and teachers and help them dig in as well. And that's the snapshot for this evening. Are there any other needs or questions you have?
Mr. Temby.
Well, congratulations to the team and obviously our schools, what's happening there. This is a great story because as a board, we recognize that the goal was fairly bodacious, but we're proud of it. We're proud that this district is striving towards this. And in anything, if you can catch issues upstream versus downstream, it's much better. And so this focus on literacy by third grade, so these kids launch well. Because again, post third grade, they are reading to learn. And this is a great story. So great trend lines, and we recognize it's a bodacious, aggressive goal, but it's the right goal. So thank you.
Yep, I'm excited.
Ms. Cons.
Jolynn, just a quick question. I just thought of this, I'm mulling it over. So for the math, the chart of our math data, where, excuse me, third through like sixth grade is kind of a lower percentile than a lot of the other grades. Is there any indication that the curriculum we're using has something to do with that in those grade levels?
So because our schools, they use different curriculum, I can tell you that recently we've had conversations. So with that strategic priority around math, we've been doing a lot of work. We just did, I know, there we go, pull it down. I'm like, I can only get so much taller. Our lead team, we did an entire focus with our principals around math, and we had conversations because as a site-based district, there is a selection of textbooks and materials that they can use. Our best hope is we're addressing Colorado State standards. I think it's also interesting to think about those grade levels. I think you mentioned like third through sixth, thinking about the COVID years for those kids too, that they like our third graders would have been, K1, 2, so there's a lot of possibilities. And those are pieces that we look at. I think the other thing that's important to think about is this is the district overview, but then even when you look at your sheets on how our schools performed individually, and trust me, the principals take this very seriously as well as their teachers. And then you start looking at instruction maybe at the classroom level. Jolynn's instruction doesn't look so hot. Andy's doing a great job. What can I learn from Andy? And that's why that PLC work too is so important, because teachers can say to each other, hey, how are you getting, what are you doing that's different than what I'm doing to get the same, different results from the kids? So it could be a piece of it, and that's something we're definitely having conversations around. Dr., would you say anything different? And instruction. And we've had, so the other piece to that piece was best instructional practices. Some of us, I was thinking my salary might have added to the high. No, I'm just kidding. I was like, did he call us old? No, I'm just kidding. No, the people that have been around. But when you think about, we've seen a lot of different things in education. And so really fine tuning, what is it as a district that we value as the most important instructional practices? And so that's another piece of the work that Tacey, our teammate from Curriculum Instruction, Killingsworth, has been working on. And with the math goal, we've had a lot of great conversations with principals and the teachers through that committee work as well.
Good. Well, thanks. Yeah, I think a lot of us are nodding and excited about all the collaboration and the sharing. Really diving into sharing best practices. So thanks.
Yep.
I just have to add a personal opinion to that. I don't know if it's research-based, Dr. Field, but I think a really good teacher can take any curriculum that they have and bring life to it, and kids will learn from it. The cheapest one, the fanciest one, the whatever, I think the focus on instructional practices is really where the bang for the buck happens, because I believe that the teacher is the most important piece. There are probably curriculum that work better with some teachers than others, or maybe aligned with standards more exactly.
I mean, that you're, we're assessing the Colorado academic standards. So if we're not teaching them, odds are they're not going to do very well, right? So, but yes, teachers are definitely important in having the best teachers we can put in front of our kids. But the work, so part of it, when you think of that PLC, the yellow cycle that we were looking at looks at unpacking the standards as one of the first things, like what is it we need to teach? Because if you look at some of the standards by grade levels, there's way more than we would ever be able to accomplish in that 9-month school year. And so schools prioritize and say, these are the most important things kids must learn this year. And then they all have different tools to use to support that. But I can hear Tacey telling me I need to say that part. No. Uh-huh.
Could you go to the previous slide?
Yes.
I'm going to show my
If
ignorance
we have the
here.
power, we can do that.
And I don't want to spend too much time on the left. Is that numbers of students in that?
No, that is a score. So for example, at the top, the red circle that says 142, that 142 is that one student's composite score.
So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different students.
Correct.
Reading across.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sure I'm the only one in the room that that didn't understand that. Okay. Somebody's got to be the weak link. Might as well be me. So, and just to confirm, our spring of 2022 reading 3rd grade was 78.9. That's according to MAP growth. Our goal is 85 according to MAP growth.
So two different, you can't correlate those numbers. Sorry, was that too direct?
No, that's why I'm asking. I want to make sure I'm correct because I didn't think it was REDAC data, but maybe I'm wrong.
The Acadience reading data was 79.8.
Correct. That's the baseline that we're talking about,
That's
right?
our baseline. That's where we were.
Acadience, meaning MAP growth?
Acadience,
Separate assessment. But we were looking tonight at,
mine was Acadience.
yours was Acadience, yours was MAP growth. Okay. So bottom line for me is if you compare from the year prior at winter, if you will, we're doing better than we did last year, which is really good. That's really good news. And I share the board's excitement. Let's keep it up. Let's keep doing this. This is, we all know this. We all want to do this. We all want to see our students achieve, and we all want to see our kids learn how to read. I'm very excited. Do individual principals get to see how other schools do?
Yes, they have access. So those screenshots, well, for mine now, for my part, for MAP growth, this green, yellow screen.
Yep.
Those come out of Tableau, which is our visualization tool. And so they have access to that as soon as we get that data, as soon as the window of testing closes, we put all that data information in there and they're able to see that comparative data, as well as the vendor has a lot of great detailed reports that they're able to access.
And when we do our collaborative work, the Acadience reading charts that you have in your folder, all principals receive those.
Good.
So we've looked specifically at 3rd grade, each grade level, so they do.
Good.
And then they start calling each other.
Yeah, no, that's good. I love competition floats all boats. I like it. Board, anything else? Thank you. Great presentation. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Board of Education discretionary budget for fiscal year 2023, 2024. Ms. Cloninger.
I've been told to go through this line by line. Just kidding. Get comfortable. Yeah, we're going till 9. You what? I am not. Oh yeah, maybe I am. So I just wanted to point out here that we moved things around on, thank you ladies. I am not that more, I'm just kidding. I know, it's finance, we go there. So the things that I just wanted to point out were election fees. We had put in there double of the 60,000 because of a mill levy question on the ballot this November, as well as our board election that will be on the ballot. After speaking to the county assessor, we found out that we wouldn't need that much, so we put it back to just 30. So that's where that 90 comes into play.
We talked a little bit about this the other day, and it was the printing and copying. We just moved things around so that it reflects the external and the internal. We didn't need it to be 300 in one spot and 0 in another and keep moving things. So we just kind of moved it so that it would be all right. And then the 12,000 that you see there is strictly because we don't pay for ASL anymore during these meetings. It was largely during our COVID years, and anyway, so we are not doing that, and so we put that into general supplies so that if we need something, we can pull it from there. But those are kind of the things that I just wanted to point out. Any questions? No, stop talking.
Thank you, Ms. Cloninger. We're debrief. Question number 2 from the CASB self-assessment. Did the board follow their agreed upon board member and board meeting norms and agreements? I think that's a true statement. Mr. Brett Smith, happy birthday, March 15th. Hey. Was our business this evening focused on activities that promote and honor our mission statement, our belief statements, and our global end statement that reminds us that all students will have the knowledge, skills, and character necessary for successful transition to the next level, and upon graduation will be fully prepared for success? 11 attendees, by the way, on remote. This meeting is adjourned.